Power Hour with John Lee.
This is not the most famous one, but it's growing, and it started in Australia. There's a guy called Serge Ben Hayon. I think his name is pronounced Ben Hayon. Serge Ben Hayon is born in Uruguay, and he's the leader, but his whole family's involved. They're all into it. His ex-wife and his current wife, who are apparently really good friends, and his daughter is part of it. And it's like one of these, like others that we'll look at. These are more like self-help cults, and he preaches all this kind of quack pseudo medicine that he reckons he can heal you, and he likes to heal women by touching their private genitalia. You know, and claims that he can cure ovarian cancer. He's a thief. The man is a thief. He just stole it. There's a case of a woman who had cancer, and he convinced her that all she needed was faith in his words, and to give him as much money as possible, and not give any money to her family, because they were trying to come between her and, you know, the realization of whatever he was saying. And he took that one woman for, I think, $3 million. And I've seen a video of her in the hospital talking about how she now realizes that getting cancer was all her fault. It's heartbreaking. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. You want to watch the video, you can. It's called Universal Medicine, and the guy's called Serge Ben Hayon. What he did to that woman and that family and many others, absolutely disgusting. And he refers to himself as the Ascended Master. Ascended Master. You do that to my mum, and I'll batter you around the car park 3 times. And then you can call yourself the Ascended Master. And he goes about doing that kind of thing, and his daughter gives speeches to women about being a sex bomb. But this is the path to happiness. It's all about reincarnation is a big part of this, that everyone is reincarnated. And he said the same thing as, I think maybe Glenn Hoddle got it from this. Glenn Hoddle was the manager of the English football team in the late 90s, and he was fired because he said this, which is what Serge Ben Hayon preaches, which is that disabled children, specifically autistic, but any disabled children, were basically bad people in a previous life, and they're being punished. I mean, that is just a sick, twisted thing to say. You're going to go to a child and say, yeah, well, you're in a wheelchair because you were an absolute bastard in a previous life. I mean, oof. And this guy's, you know, multi-millionaire, living the high life, you know. And his followers are really, really fanatical. You know, we're talking about cults. Maybe that's a component. Fanaticism. And otherism, you know, it's us against them. I think that's a large part of it as well. And they're in England. They've got a presence in the south of England, in these little villages where posh people live, really nice houses and all that. And some generous benefactor has given him a big house and a complex where he can expand his religion in England. And if you go down there asking questions, the whole village activates. Seriously, they start coming out of the houses, parking the car so you can't get up the street, you can't get out of the village. It's proper Village of the Damned, really creepy tackle. And, you know, and these people, they're all highly educated professionals, I'm sure. Unless they all just inherited these beautiful houses in the same town. They must be intelligent, professional people to live in places like that and to have money to give to idiots like Serge. And they do it, and they believe his bullshit, obviously. Oh, you're the Ascended Master who steals money from cancer patients and talks shit about disabled kids. Yeah, there's a fucking $1 million. And that's what they do. They literally make $1 million donations to this idiot. So, yeah, he's definitely on the punching list. I don't advocate violence, but, you know, there's always a guy who looks exactly like me who does. We're going to move to another one who would get a good beating off the other me. He's a guy called Wayne Bent. who's given himself another name now, Travessa or something like that. But his name's Wayne Bent, and he's the leader of the Strong City cult, right? And he says he's the Messiah. Quote, I am humanity and divinity combined. Are you now? Right. You look like a little bell end. Looks can be deceptive, it appears, because this guy is humanity and divinity fucking combined. And he set up this little village, caravans, and he's got everyone. Oh my God. I mean, they are absolutely besotted with him, everybody. He has sex with all the women. His own son. His own son's wife. I mean, not his son. His son's wife. He's had sex with his son's wife on multiple occasions. And I've seen him telling the story with his son there, and his son's got his head against the wall, clearly in tremendous pain, and trying to rationalise this in his mind. And his son used to be a cop. So the idea of rational processed thought is not alien to his son. His son must be a voice in his mind saying, you're just shagging my wife, aren't you? You know, let's just have it right. You're just shagging my wife because you're a dirty little bastard. And I can't accept that. So I'm gonna go with the whole Messiah thing, because even though that's clearly bullshit as well, I mean, that's just sits better in my mind than the reality that I'm looking at here. And, you know, as Mark Twain said, it's easier to fool somebody than it is to convince them that they have been fooled. So once somebody's been fooled, you can't talk them out of it, is basically what Twain was talking about there. But what really pisses me off is the fact that he targets kids. You know, that's just too far. Too far. The whole thing's too far. But he's got these kids, and I've seen them talking to each other, and they're on camera and they're talking and about how they just realised that what they needed to do was to get naked with this old man. He's like 66 years of age at the time, pathetic little weasel. And they needed to go up to his house and get naked with him. And this was God telling them to do that. And they're like 14, these girls, 14, 15, and they get up and they go to his house, going to vomit. They go into his house and get naked with this old bastard. And in the eyes of God, to be truly naked in the eyes of God. And, you know, when he talks about it, he's got this smirk on his face. And it's sickening. And the problem is that these kids were born into the cult. So they don't know anything else. They've never lived in a normal place and then moved there. They didn't choose that. They were born into that. And to them, he's always been Messiah. So they just believe that, you know, like being a part of a tribe that worships the moon, I suppose. They just believe that, and he uses it to manipulate everybody to get what he wants, you know. Again, the other me would just boost into his caravan at 3 o'clock in the morning, slap him round the car park once or twice, rip all his clothes off and hang him upside down from a tree, by his feet, and then wake everyone up with a bell and say, could I really do this to God? You know, if he was God, would he be upside down now, naked, getting smacked by me with a stick? No, he wouldn't. But he is, because he's not God. Now stop getting naked and jumping in bed with him. Yeah, Wayne Bent. Wayne Bent. Yeah, he is bent.